Check out carmarshal.com. The link is in the description. They help support us.
Cops now charge businesses thousands to provide them police protection, just like the Mafia. Just like in Hollywood movies in which the Mafia forces business owners to pay for protection, Detroit police are following suit. By Matt Agarist, January 26, 2018. Detroit MI. Everyone who's ever watched a Hollywood mob film has seen the scenarios in which the mobsters offer protection to local businesses in exchange for money. The scheme is called a protection racket and is usually conducted by criminals. However, as a case in Detroit illustrates, police officers have recently gotten in on the game. Sadek Kaid, who owns a Marathon gas station in northwest Detroit, called police last month to report a crime in progress which was taking place inside his store. An irate customer, who was upset with the price of an item, lost it and began smashing up the store and throwing items off the shelves. Kaid called 911. Several minutes passed and Kaid never received a response, so he hit redial and called back. Still, nothing. The customer smashed up Kaid's store for nearly an hour and police never showed up. Advertisement. The dispatcher said, "It's because you don't have the green light," Kaid said, according to Detroit News. "The customer was in here destroying the store, throwing everything off the shelves. He was here for almost an hour before he left. When the police finally came, they told us the green light locations get priority." Although police tout the Project Green Light system as a means of preventing crime, in essence, it is merely a high-tech version of the Mafia's protection racket with ominous police state undertones. As the Detroit News reports, businesses pay between $4,000 and $6,000 to join Project Green Light, a program that allows police to monitor businesses' video surveillance feeds in real time. The cost covers installation of high-definition cameras and lighting. There also is a monthly fee of up to $150 for cloud-based video storage. For paying the cops the exorbitant fees to essentially let police spy on them 24/7, businesses get priority 1 status on calls to 911. Now, the businesses who can't afford to pay the Mafia police for protection are getting left out in the cold. "It's not fair," said Abdo Nagy, owner of a 76 gas station on Grand River on Detroit's west side that is not part of the program, according to the news. "We should all be equal. I pay high taxes already. Now I have to pay extra to get the police to come. Don't get me wrong, if someone has a weapon and we call the police, they get here fast," Nagy said. "But with other things, it takes a long time. There were kids in here beating up another kid last year, and by the time the cops got here, they were gone." According to Detroit News, Priority 1 runs are given precedence over other emergency calls, although Police Chief James Craig said green light runs don't trump violent crimes. But per the agreement with the city, if there are simultaneous calls from 2 business owners reporting similar crimes, police prioritize calls from the green light locations. On top of the Mafia-esque tone of this program is the fact that business owners are essentially constructing their own police state and they are paying for it. Likely salivating over the idea of having cameras recording everything in the city, city officials are now considering making the green light program mandatory. However, that won't happen until at least next year, according to Mayor Mike Duggan. Duggan says everyone loves the program and if you don't like it you're a criminal. "The level of enthusiasm is so high," he said. "Our resistance comes almost entirely from people who appear to have a relationship with the people up to no good in their parking lots. However, not all businesses can simply shell out thousands of dollars to the cops for protection and they aren't criminals at all. It sounds like a great idea, but I just can't afford it," said Jesus Hernandez, owner of Abby's Party Store. "If the city makes it mandatory, I'll just have to close at 10. That won't make a big difference during the week, but on the weekends I'll lose money." Perhaps the Detroit police would do well to study the model of Dale Brown, who owns and operates his own private police force. Dale Brown of Detroit's Threat Management Center has shown that crime can be stopped and lives can be saved by independent people using non-lethal tactics and without creating a police state. In areas of Detroit where police don't answer 911 calls, Dale Brown took matters into his own hands and started taking those calls himself, and because Dale was not above the law as police officers claimed to be, he had to solve these crimes without hurting people, because he would actually be held accountable for his actions. Yes, businesses pay for these services. However, as a side effect of providing businesses with security, Dale has also been able to provide service in poor neighborhoods for free, by financing his business through providing security for high-income areas.
Does the government work for us or do we work for the government? Tonight, what if the Constitution no longer applied? What if the whole purpose of the Constitution was to limit the government? What if Congress's enumerated powers in the Constitution no longer limited Congress, but were actually used as a justification to extend Congress's authority over every realm of human life? What if the president, meant to be an equal to Congress, has instead become a democratically elected, term-limited monarch? What if the president assumed that everything he did was legal just because he's the president? What if he could interrupt your regularly scheduled radio and TV programming for a special message from him? What if he could declare war on his own? What if he could read your emails and your texts without a search warrant? What if he could kill you without warning? What if Supreme Court justices no longer looked to the Constitution to determine the constitutionality of a law, but rather simply to what justices who preceded them thought about it? What if the rights and principles guaranteed in the Constitution have been so distorted in the past 200 years as to be unrecognizable by the founders? What if the 50 states were no longer sovereign entities, equals to each other, and parents of the federal government they voluntarily constituted? What if the states were mere provinces of a totally nationalized and fully centralized government? What if the Constitution was amended stealthily, not by constitutional amendments duly ratified by the states, but by the constant and persistent expansion of the federal government's role in our lives? What if the federal government decided if its own powers were proper and constitutional? What if the Constitution were no longer the supreme law of the land? What if you needed a license from the government to speak, to assemble, or to protest against the government? What if the government didn't like what you planned to say, and so it didn't give you the license? What if the right to keep and bear arms only applied to the government? What if posse comitatus, the federal law that prohibits our military from occupying our streets, were no longer in effect? What if the government considered the military an adequate dispenser of domestic law enforcement? What if cops looked and acted like troops and you couldn't distinguish the military from the police? What if you were not secure in your person, in your papers, and in your property? What if federal agents could write their own search warrants in defiance of the Constitution? What if the government could decide when you were and were not entitled to a jury trial? What if the government could take your property whenever it wanted? What if the government could continue prosecuting you until it got the verdict it wanted? What if the government could force you to testify against yourself simply by labeling you a domestic terrorist? What if the government could torture you until you said what the government wanted to hear? What if people running for president actually supported torture? What if the government tortured your children to get to you? What if government judges and government lawyers intimidated juries into convicting the innocent? What if the government could send you to your death and your innocence meant nothing so long as the government's procedures were followed? What if America's prison population, the largest in the world, was a cruel and unusual way for a country to be free? What if half the prison population never harmed anyone but themselves? What if the people had no rights except those the government chose to let them have? What if the states had no rights except to do as the federal government commanded? What if our elected officials didn't really live among us, but instead all had their hearts and homes in Washington, D.C.? What if the government could strip you of your rights because of where your mother was when you were born? What if the income tax was unconstitutional? What if the states were convinced to give up their representation in Congress? What if the government tried to ban you from using a substance in your body that is older than the government itself? What if voting didn't mean anything anymore because both political parties stand for big government? What if the government could write any law, regulate any behavior, and tax any event? The Constitution be damned. What if the government was the reason we don't have a Constitution anymore? What if you could love your country but hate what the government has done to it? What if sometimes to love your country you had to alter or abolish the government? What if Jefferson was right? What if that government is best which governs least? What if I'm right? What if the government is wrong? What if it is dangerous to be right when the government is wrong? What if it is better to perish fighting for freedom than to live as a slave? What if freedom's greatest hour of danger is now?
County. This is Charlotte County Cop Watch, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair use is, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I have just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago, and so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too because you can give monthly. You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheeple up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Sheriff County Cop Watch with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me and I'm sick of it, so I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if some, if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. Just think if each one of you subscribers just gave a, let's say, actually, yes, $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen. But anyways, that would be great if it did happen. But, do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where, at least I can do it. 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea too that we have is, if I got, some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here, and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. 47,000 of you so far right now. $1 a day. $1 a month on Patreon, or $5 a month Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head. Help out. This is a lot of work every single day. Thanks.